Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is September 12th for Ixalan preview season. Alright guys, we're gonna get right into it. Oh, look at the nice background. I'm out in the water now. It's like a beach. Moving on, first we've got Adonto Vanguard, 1 colorless, 1 white mana for a 1/1 vampire soldier. As long as Adonto Vampire is attacking, it gets +2/+0. Pay 4 life, Adonto Vanguard gains indestructible until end of turn. This is going to be a pain to deal with in Draft and Sealed. I could possibly see this making its way into a standard vampire deck if we're kind of low on the low mana curve vampires, because overall it is a 3/1 attacking in on turn 3, so that is decent, but again the pay 4 life gained indestructible is very relevant. It's no Borderland Marauder, however, because that 2 toughness is extremely important. So we're going to have to definitely see how this kind of fits in the standard meta, but I think in Draft and Sealed alone this card is going to be fantastic. Moving on up, we've got Charging Monstrosaur. Look at that art, dude. That art is crazy. 4 colors, 1 red mana for a 5/5 dinosaur with trample and haste. Could they make a more perfect card? This is like the ultimate limited bomb, and it's only uncommon, which means you're probably going to see 1 or 2 of them if you're really lucky. I don't think this is meant for anything except for Draft or Sealed. This is strictly just meant for that one moment where you open up your pack, you have a rare, and then you look at your uncommons and go, well, I'm picking this guy instead. This guy is extremely on curve. He has extremely relevant keywords, and he's a 5/5, so he's not going to just die immediately. This is a super high pick for me in Draft. Might make its way into a standard deck. I don't know yet. There's no really like secondary ability for it, so we got to see what's going to happen there. But in Draft and Sealed, this card is a bombshell. Moving on to another card we have, it needs to be translated, Imperial Lancer. It's 1 white for a 1/1 human knight. Imperial Lancer has double strike as long as you control a dinosaur. Interesting. A 1 mana 1/1 with double strike is super cool. I'm not so sure where this would see play at other than like limited or Draft. The ability to pump it in those formats is a lot more likely than in Draft or than in Standard. I think it's a super aggressive creature, but again, with the pumps, it makes it much better. So we just gotta wait and see if we have the ability to make it tribal and then have double strike as well. Because again, it doesn't have double strike unless you control a dinosaur. So that's the only caveat that makes me kind of leery about it. I think in Draft and Sealed it might work, and I think in Standard it's more applicable that it'll work. But again, it might just have to be like a random one-off card. I don't know if the synergy's there yet. Moving on up, we have Makeshift Munitions, 1 colorless, 1 red mana for an enchantment. You can pay 1 colorless, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Makeshift Munitions deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This card is actually super good. I think overall this might not see play in a Draft or Sealed deck. I think this is probably going to be brewed around a lot in Standard though. But this seems like a really cool recurring ability to put probably in like some weird modern brew or commander deck. So I think those are probably the places it's going to find home. But I'm going to definitely try and make a Standard deck with this card in it. Moving on up, we've got River Sneak. Nice card name. 1 colorless, 1 blue mana for a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior. River Sneak can't be blocked, so it's a 1/1 unblockable. And whenever another Merfolk enters a battlefield under your control, River Sneak gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Again, I think this card in Draft and in Sealed is going to be super good, especially if you pull into a lot of Merfolks. The ability to have it trigger over and over again is great to give +1s. And there might be some aggressive Simic Merfolk deck in Standard that this will want to see a home in. But besides that, I don't really see much play for this. I think the card is cool. I think the art is awesome. That looks super cool. If this was 1 mana, we might be having a different story, but since it's 2 mana, it's not as good as I hope it would be. So it's close, but no cigar. Moving on to another card that needs translated. This is Sky Terror. It's 1 red, 1 white for a 2/2 dinosaur with flying and menace. This card is crazy good. Just wish this card had more evasion, you know what I'm saying? That's sarcasm, by the way. Flying and menace is plenty. In Draft and Sealed, this is going to be an all-star uncommon if you are in those colors. Crazy. And in Standard, this card might see some sort of play. I'm not really sure yet. It's definitely on curve for the 2 mana drop, obviously, but I'm not sure that a dinosaur deck wants to be doing that. I think it wants to instead be ramping up. So in a red-white aggressive strategy, this card is super good. So we might see this in a red-white aggressive aggro like style deck in Standard, just as a card in general, not as a tribe. But moving on up, we've got Snapping Sailback, 4 colorless, 1 green mana for a 4/4 dinosaur with flash. It has Enrage. Whenever Snapping Sailback is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This card is a great blocker, and I think it's going to be great in Draft, Sealed, and probably Standard. It's one of those blowout cards that if they swing in with a 2/2 or a 3/3, you're going to block, it's going to turn into a 5/5. Their creature's going to die, and you're going to have a 5/5 on the field for attack the following turn. Again, I think this is a great card in Draft and Sealed, and it may see some standard play just based on the flash alone. Moving on up, we've got Trove of Temptation, 3 colorless, 1 red mana for an enchantment. Each opponent must attack you or a planeswalker you control with at least 1 creature each combat if able. At the beginning of your end step, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Again, like I've been saying throughout the spoilers so far, the treasures are super cool, and there's a Revel in Riches deck somewhere in Standard that's going to make a Pro Tour. I don't think this card is great in Draft and Sealed. I think it's actually bad in those formats. I think this probably is a card for Commander, or a card for like a weird brew in Standard or Modern if they want to do the treasure brew. Besides that, if you pull this in a Draft or Sealed, I'm going to feel real bad for you. Don't play it. Please don't. You're going to die. Don't do it. Moving on up, we've got Vicious Conquistador. It's 1 black mana for a 1/2 Vampire Soldier, and whenever Vicious Conquistador attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. While this is no Night Market Lookout in that we gain 1 life, the ability to have 1 extra toughness is super relevant here. I think this is probably the first 1-drop Vampire that we've seen so far, so I think it's going to be great in a Standard deck most likely, and I think this is a high Draft and Sealed pick as well. I don't see this seeing any play outside of those formats, but I think it's fun. I think the art is fun, and yeah, the flavor text, awesome. Moving on up, we have Captivating Crew. It's 3 colorless and 1 red mana for a 4/3 human pirate. You can pay 3 colorless and 1 red mana, gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. Activate that ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. If this is your rare in Draft and Sealed, welcome to making your opponent infuriated. If you can get this off over and over again, this card is going to be a windmill slam pick for you. But if you can't, then this card is just okay. A 4/3 for 4 is nothing to write home about, but the ability to kind of take what they have and do it, but the ability to kind of take what they have and use it against them is awesome. You can also do it multiple times if you're really high on mana in a single match, so be really relevant of that too. So I'm probably going to see this in like a weird Standard brew as well, because it just seems dumb, and I think this will be something really fun to do in an infinite mana deck in like Commander or something. Just silly. I take your things. Moving on up, we've got Spell Swindle. It's 3 colorless and 2 blue mana for an instant. Counter target spell, create X colorless treasure artifact tokens where X is that spell's converted mana cost. They have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So a 5 mana drain? Again, I think this will probably see a Revel in Riches deck. That's probably where it's going to see the most play, obviously. In Draft and in Sealed, this is probably a terrible card to use in that format. This is probably just a brewable card in Standard, maybe something to use in Commander, but nothing to write home about really. But yeah, Revel in Riches, it's just staring me in the face. Moving up, we have Dowsing Dagger, 2 colorless for a artifact equipment. When Dowsing Dagger enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2 0/2 green plant creature tokens with Defender. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may transform Dowsing Dagger. It has equipped for 2 colorless. And when it flips, it turns into Lost Veil. This is a tap, add 3 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool, which is awesome. This card has me thinking in Standard that like explosive ramp may be like legitimately real, but it does give you basically 2 creatures that you have to get through from your opponent. But if you do get in, obviously it gives you 3 mana per turn, so that's like a Lotus Veil. So this is awesome. In Draft and Sealed, this card is just gonna be a fine equipment. I think flipping it is almost not that great in that format, unless you really need the mana for a dinosaur. It is a May ability, so you don't have to flip it, but I think a 2 mana equipped to +2/+1 is fine for Draft and Sealed for like a mid to low pick. But the other side, if you get to it, if you're looking for a huge bomb, then this is going to be it for you. I think this is going to be fun in Standard. I think this is going to be like a lot of fun in Commander because it gives you a ton of extra mana. For like basically doing nothing. I mean, if you have an unblockable Merfolk, then there you go, you're done. And I don't know about Standard, but I think this will probably be brewed in something there too. So keep an eye out for that. It's super powerful. It's got a super powerful flip ability. So we just got to see where it's going to land. Next up, we have Legion's Landing. 1 white mana for a legendary enchantment. When Legion's Landing enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. When you attack with 3 or more creatures, transform Legion's Landing. And when it transforms into Adento, the First Fort, which is a legendary land. Add 1 white mana to your mana pool, you can actually pay 2 and 1 white, tap it, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. I like this a lot more than the other one. The ability to trigger on the first side is quite good. It does give you a 1/1 creature with lifelink, so you can actually swing it with that away the next turn. So you might actually have this on turn 1, make a 1/1, on turn 2, make your whatever, and then kind of swing out from there. So I think in Draft and Sealed, this is probably more playable. I think in Standard, this is going to be like an on-curve 1-drop, which is awesome. And I think once it does flip, you do get your land, and you actually do have the ability to create creatures over and over again, which is great. This might see some kind of weird Anointing Processions build in Standard, so that would be awesome. But in Draft and Sealed, if you get this to flip, you have a token producer that's going to produce chump blockers for days. But that is going to be it for today's spoilers, guys. What did you think of them? I really like Legion's Landing. I think that card is incredibly strong. It'll probably see play somewhere. I think Spell Swindle might see some play somewhere in a Revel in Riches deck. Snapping Sailback is just stupid fun in Draft. And again, charging Monstrosaur is just dumb. But yeah, leave a like below if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys with the next Ixalan spoiler video. See ya.